हरे कृष्णा। Bhakti माता जी। हरे कृष्णा जी, devotees दंडवत प्रणाम। Start with Mangalasharan. ओम अज्ञानतटन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिते नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Okay, I'm hoping somebody will sing our prayers today from Shri Govinda Damodar Stotram. Anybody would like to recite verses 31 to 40? Anybody wants to try?
I can, Prabhuji.
Yes, Hari Bol. Shri Mataji. Yeah.
अक्रूरमासाद्य यदा मुकुन्दस् चापोत्स्वरर्थं मथुरां प्रविष्टः तदा स पौरेर्जयतीत्यभाजी गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति कंसस्य दूतेन यदैव नीतौ वृन्दावनाताद् वसुदेवशूनौ रुरोदगोपी भवनस्य मध्ये गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति सरोवरे काल्यनागबद्धं शिशुं यशोदातनयं निशम्य चक्रुर्लुटन्त्य पथिगोपबाला गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति अक्रूरयाने यदुवंसनाथं संगच्छमानं मथुरां निरीक्ष्य ऊचुर्वियोगात् किल गोपबाल गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति चक्रन्दगोपी नलिनीवनान्ते कृष्णेन हीना कुसुमे शयाना प्रफुल्लनीलोत्पललोचनाभ्यां गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति मातापितृभ्यां परिवार्यमाना गेहं प्रविष्टा विललापगोपी आगत्य मां पालय विश्वनाथ गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति वृन्दावनेस्थं हरिमाशु बुद्ध्वा गोपीगताकापि वनं निशायं तत्रापि अदृष्ट्वातिभयादवोचद् गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति सुखं शयाना निलये निजेऽपि नामानि विष्णु प्रवदन्ति मर्त्या ते निश्चितं तन्मयतां व्रजन्ति गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति सा नीरजाक्षीम् अवलोक्य राधां रुरोध गोविन्दवियोगकीनां सखी प्रफुल्लोत्पललोचनाभ्यं गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति जिह्वेरसञ्ज्ञे मधुरप्रिया त्वं सत्यं हितं त्वां परमं वदामि आवर्णयेथा मधुराक्षराणि गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति 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 हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. Okay, anybody would like to read the translations? 31 to 40?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you. After Lord Mukunda had met with Akrura and entered Mathura to attend the ceremony of breaking the bow of Kamsa, all the citizens shouted, Jai Govinda, Jai Damodara, Jai Madhava. When both sons of Vasudeva had actually been taken out of Vrindavan by the messenger of Kamsa, Yashoda sobbed within the house, crying, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. Hearing how the son of Yashoda, who was but a child, was wrapped within the coils of the Kaliya serpent at the pond, the cowherd boys cried, Govinda, Damodara, Madhva, and scurried down the path. Seeing the lord of the Yadus proceeding towards Mathura upon Akura's chariot, the cowherd boys, upon realization of their impending separation, said, O Govinda, Damodara, Madhva, where are you going? Are you actually leaving us now? At the edge of a lotus forest, a gopi lay down upon the bed of flowers. Bereft of Krishna, tears flowed from her lotus eyes as she wept, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. Being severely restricted by her mother and father, a lamenting gopi entering her house, thinking, Now that I have arrived home, save me, O Lord of the universe, O Govinda, O Damodara, O Madhava. Thinking that Krishna was in the forest, a gopi fled into the forest in the middle of the night. But seeing that Krishna wasn't actually there, she became very fearful and cried, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. Even the ordinary mortals, comfortably seated at home, who chant the names of Vishnu, Govinda, Damodara, and Madhava, certainly attain at least the liberation of having a form of similar to that of the Lord. Seeing Srimati Radharani crying from the pangs of separation from Govinda, a blooming lotus eyes of Radha's girlfriend also filled with tears, and she too cried, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava, O my tongue, you're fond of sweet things and are of discriminating taste. I tell you the highest truth, which is also the most beneficial. Please just recite these sweet syllables, Govinda, Damodara, and Madhava. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji and Shri Mataji, for the wonderful recitation and translation. Hare Krishna. Yes, I'm sincerely. Oh, one thing I wanted to point out, just Shri Mataji, just for our own betterment. I think the last verse you said Rasajye, it is Rasajye here, right? Or the Tadi, yeah, Jive, Rasaj. This is Gya, the Hindi Gya, just a Gyan wala Gya.
Okay,
This
Prabhuji.
comes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for your nice recitation. And yes, as this prayer, you see all these wonderful devotees of the Lord are chanting his name. So we are also just trying to follow in their footsteps, and with how much sincerity we are just repeating, right? They're always just repeating Govindas, Damodara Madhava. Similarly, we are just trying to repeat. Even the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is just the same mantra, right? It's for meditation, but it's also a prayer, and it's just a repetition of the holy names of the Lord. So just by repeating these holy names, just by repeating these holy prayers every day, maybe we get a drop of the same mode of devotion that these exalted devotees of the Lord have, like the Gopals, like Srimati Radhani and her Sakhis, because eventually that is our goal, to attain the love of Godhead. So that sincerity that these devotees have, maybe get a drop of that. So we'll move to Srila Prabhupada Leela Amrit. Yesterday we saw again the sincerity of his disciples, Srila Prabhupada's disciples, because Prabhupada was mentioning to them yesterday that like even Jadurani, right? She was the only lady, only woman who was coming every morning class. So it was a small, committed core group of devotees who were coming. Prabhupada initiated 19 disciples so far, but not everybody was as serious. But maybe hardly 10, 12 devotees were coming every morning for the class, but their sincerity is what pleased Srila Prabhupada, and he mentions that he was seeing that Jadurani was very sincere and she was coming every day, and then she was utilizing her services and painting the pictures. And then that's where he transitions into reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, because he was saying again, just like how these two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, were sincere, and they met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then with their sincerity and with their association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they became intimate disciples or intimate devotees of the Lord. So similarly, sincerity is what attracts the Lord. The all-attractive Krishna gets attracted by the humility and sincerity of his devotees. So Srila Prabhupada is taking his disciples on the same journey, because they were sincere and they were associating with Prabhupada every morning in the morning classes, and he was now taking them to the next level, hoping that they would be also able to become intimate devotees of the Lord. So that was kind of the theme yesterday, and Prabhupada left them on a cliffhanger. So yesterday, I think we also stopped at a cliffhanger. We saw Rupa Goswami had already joined Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but Sanatan Goswami had some troubles. He was imprisoned by the Nawab, but then he used his intelligence in the service of the Lord, and he told the jailer that he will give him some gold coins, and he freed him. So after he removed his shackles, we'll see what happens next. He left the prison and he fled from there in the night. And I think we are going to start from this paragraph. Anybody would like to read today? Now this hotel was kept by thieves.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Now this hotel was kept by thieves, and an astrologer as at the hotel read Sanatan's palm and judged by the stars that he had money. When Sanatan asked for assistance in passing over the jungle mountains, the hotel keeper said that he would help Sanatan leave in the dead of the night. They treated Sanatan with great respect, which made him suspicious, since he hadn't eaten in 3 days and his clothes were unclean. So he asked his servant if he had any money. The servant said yes, he had 7 gold coins, and Sanatan immediately took the money to the hotel keeper, who was already planning to kill him during the night and take his money. Swamiji looked at his watch. Again, they had gone over time. So we will continue tomorrow, he said, closing the book. How Sanatan manages to escape the dacoits. Kirtananda, Brahmananda, Achyutananda, Garagmuni, Satswarupa, Hayagriva, Umapati, Jadurani, Rupanuga, Damodara, then Clark, their lives had all been transformed. Over the months, they had transferred the center of their lives to Swamiji, and everything revolved around the routine of the classes, and Kirtan and Prasadam, and coming and going to and from the storefront. Brahmananda and Gargmani had given up their apartment several months ago and moved into the storefront. The ceiling of Achyutananda's apartment had caved in one day, just minutes after he had left the room, and he had decided to move to the storefront also. Hayagriva and Umapati had cleaned up their Mott Street place and were using it only for chanting, sleeping, or reading Swamiji's Bhagavatam. Satswarupa had announced one day that the devotees would use his apartment just around the corner from the temple for taking showers, and the next day, Rai Rama had moved in. And the others began using the apartment as a temple annex. Chaturani kept making her early morning treks from the Bronx. Swamiji had said that he had no objection to her living in the second room of his apartment, but that people would talk. Even Rupanuga and Damodar, whose backgrounds and tastes were different, were also positively dependent on the daily morning class and the evening classes and evening class 3 nights a week, and in knowing that Swamiji was always there in his apartment whenever they needed him. There were, however, some threats to this security. Prabhupada would sometimes say that unless he got permanent residency from the government, he would have to leave the country. But he had gone to a lawyer, and after the initial alarm, it seemed that Swamiji would stay indefinitely. There was also the threat that he might go to San Francisco. He said he was going, but then sometimes he said that he wasn't. If the negotiations, though Mr. Price for the building on 10th Street came through, then Swamiji said he would make his headquarters in New York City and not go to San Francisco. But at least in the morning sessions, as his disciples listened to him speak on Chaitanya Charitamrita, these threads were all put out of mind and the timeless, intimate teachings took up their full attention. Krishna consciousness was a struggle, keeping yourself strictly following Swamiji's code against Maya. No illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating. But it was possible as long as they could hear him singing and reading and speaking from Chaitanya Charitamrita. They counted on his presence for their Krishna consciousness. He was the center of their newly spiritualized lives, and he was all they knew of Krishna consciousness. As long as they could keep coming and seeing him, Krishna consciousness was a sure thing as long as he was there. Seated on the warm rug, they looked up at him, waiting for him to begin the next installment. Prabhupada cleared his throat and glanced down at Brahmananda, who sat beside the silently running tape recorder. Swatsarupa entered the date in his notebook. Prabhupada began reading the Bengali verses and paraphrasing. Sanatan took the 7 gold coins from his servant and gave them to the hotel keeper. You have 8 coins, the astrologer said, and Sanatan went back and found that his servant was retaining another gold coin. Why do you carry this death necklace on the road? Sanatan asked. You are too attached to money. And he took the gold piece from his servant and told him to return home. Sanatan then brought the gold coin to the hotel keeper. But the hotel keeper, who admitted that he had intended to kill Sanatan for his money, now said, You are a good man, and you may keep your money. But Sanatan refused. Then the hotel keeper provided Sanatan with 4 assistants. They helped Sanatan through the jungle and then left him alone. Free from his nuisance servant and from the dacoits, Sanatan felt liberated as he passed along the road alone. Soon he came upon his brother-in-law who was traveling along the same road. His brother-in-law was a wealthy man carrying a great deal of money to buy horses. Please stay with me at least a few days, Sanatan's brother-in-law said. It's really bad how you look. The brother-in-law knew that Sanatan was going to spiritual life, but he requested that he improve his dress by accepting a valuable blanket from him. Sanatan took the blanket and continued on his way. At last, Sanatan reached Benares, and he went straight. I think it must be Benares. I'm not sure. Then he went straight to the home of Chandrasekhar, where Lord Chaitanya was staying, and waited outside the door. Lord Chaitanya knew Sanatan had arrived, and he requested Chandrasekhar to go to the door and ask the devotee who was waiting there to come in. Chandrasekhar went out, but saw only that the wretched-looking Sanatan, whom he took to be a half-mad Muhammad Fakir. Chandrasekhar returned to Lord Chaitanya and explained that there was no devotee outside. Was there anyone at all? Lord asked. Yes, said Chandrasekhar, some wretched fakir. Then Lord Chaitanya went to the door and embraced Sanatan. The Lord cried tears of ecstasy, for he had at last found a devotee whom he knew was worthy to receive his entire teachings. And Sanatan cried tears of joy that his life's ambition was being fulfilled. But because he was dirty from his traveling and not worthy, he asked Lord not to touch him. The Lord replied, It is I who benefit from touching you. Whoever touches a pure devotee is blessed. Prabhupada closed the book, ending another morning session. One of Prabhupada's main concerns was to finish and publish as soon as possible his translation and commentary of Bhagavad Gita. And one day, something happened that enabled him to increase his work on the manuscript. Unexpectedly, a boy named Neil arrived. He was a student from Antioch College on a special work study program, and he had the school's approval to work one term within the ashram of Swami Bhaktivedanta, which he had heard about through the newspapers. Neil mentioned that he was a good typist if that could be of any help to Swami. Prabhupada considered this to be Krishna's blessing. Immediately, he rented a dictaphone and began dictating tapes. Hayagriva donated his electric typewriter, and Neil set up his work area in Swamiji's front room and began typing 8 hours a day. This inspired Prabhupada and obliged him to produce more. He worked quickly, sometimes day and night, on his Bhagavad Gita as it is. He had founded ISKCON 5 months ago, yet in his classes, he was still reading Bhagavad Gita translation of Dr. Radhakrishnan. But when Bhagavad Gita as it is would at last be published, he told his disciples he would be But when Bhagavad Gita, as it is, would at last be published, he told his disciple it would be of major importance for Krishna consciousness movement. At last, there would be a bona fide edition of Gita. Whatever Swamiji said or did, his disciples wanted to hear about it. Gradually, they had increased their faith and devotion to Swamiji, whom they accepted as God's representative, and they took his actions and words to be absolute. After one of the disciples had been alone with Swami, the others would gather around to find out every detail of what happened. It was Krishna consciousness. Jadurani was specially guideless in relating what Swamiji had done or said or done. One day, Prabhupada had stepped on a tag that Jadurani had dropped on the floor, and although she knew it was serious offense to her spiritual master, the major importance of the event seemed to be how Prabhupada had displayed his transcendental consciousness. He silently and emotionlessly reached down and pulled the tag from his foot without so much as a cry. And once, when she was fixing a painting over his head behind the desk, she had accidentally stepped on his seating mat. Is that an offense? She asked. And Swamiji had replied, No, for service you could even stand on my head. Sometimes Brahmananda would say that Swamiji had told him something very intimate about Krishna consciousness in private. But when he would tell that Swamiji had said, someone else would recall that the same thing was in Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada had said that the spiritual master is present in his instructions and that he had tried to put everything into those 3 volumes of Bhagavatam, and the devotees were finding this to be true. There was no secret in Swami's family of devotees. Everyone knew that Umapati had left for a few days, disappointed with Swami's severe criticism of Buddhists, but had come back, and in a heavy, sincere exchange with Prabhupada, he had decided to take to Krishna consciousness again. After everyone knew that Swatswarupa had resigned from his job, and that when he had to tell Swamiji about it, Swamiji had told him that he could not quit but should go on earning money for Krishna and donating it to society, and that is would be the best service. And everyone knew that Swamiji wanted Gargmuni to cut his hair. Swamiji called it Gargmuni's Shakespearean's locks, and that it would not do so. And that he would not do so. The year ended, and Prabhupada was still working on his manuscript of Bhagavad Gita, still lecturing in the mornings from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Monday, Wednesday, Friday evenings from Bhagavad Gita, and still talking to go to San Francisco. Then New Year's Eve came, and the devotee suggested that since this was a holiday when people go out to celebrate, maybe they should hold a Krishna conscious festival. Rupanuga. So we had a big feast, and a lot of people came. Although it wasn't a crowd as crowded as Sunday feast, we were all taking prasadam, and Swamiji was sitting up on his dais, and he was also taking prasadam. He was demanding that we eat lots of prasadam, and then he was saying, "Chant, chant." So we were eating and chanting Hare Krishna between bites, and he was insisting on more and more prasadam. I was amazed. He stayed with us and kept insisting that we eat so much. He stayed until around 11 o'clock, and then he became drowsy, and the party was over.
Pause here. Thank you so much for
Thank
reading.
you.
Yes, anything you would like to share from today's reading?
It was another beautiful reading. I could see that so many of Prabhupada's intimate disciples were so serious and they were so curious at the same time. Everything Prabhupada was doing, they were observing very minutely, his corrections, and then Prabhupada's intimate love for them. From yesterday's reading, I was recalling while chanting today when Prabhupada used to, yesterday it was Prabhupada was watching them to chant one round. And that was so beautiful. I was thinking if we can keep that in our mind that when we are chanting and our Guru Maharaj or Prabhupada or Guru Varga are watching us, that would be, that would be so nice for us to chant more sincerely. And yes, it was, everything was very, very beautiful. Every day was passing by, they were getting more sincere. They were getting the nectar from Prabhupada. To see Prabhupada in person and whatever he does was making them more, trained for their upcoming lives. Yeah, that is it from me, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes. Yes, that's a very nice thought. Yeah. We always remember that our Guru, our Srila Prabhupada is watching us. And that's the best way to do our japa. And yeah, we may kind of overlook or forget, forget the Guru, but the Guru never forgets his disciples. So yeah, that's here Srila Prabhupada, like he knew what they wanted, how to kind of mold their lives, how to navigate their journey. So step by step, he was bringing them closer by engaging them in service, by course correcting them if they were making any mistakes. But yeah, overall, when we see everything, what he did was magical, and even for him himself, we see how Krishna sends the help, right? Like that boy who came out of nowhere, Neil, and like the name also is Neil, like Neil Madhav, because Krishna also sometimes comes in different forms, in this world. Krishna, just like we have, of course, the 10 avatars are the most famous Dash avatars, but yeah, Lord can come in any form. Many acharyas have mentioned about their realizations of how Radharani or Krishna have come as small boy or girl in Vrindavan, and just when they were meditating or thinking of something, and then the boy would come, just like Bilamangal Thakur, and he was sincerely, praying these prayers. And the Lord would come and sit right as a small boy, as a small cowherd boy who would bring milk. So similarly, yeah, the Lord comes for his pure devotees, and here Srila Prabhupada needed that help. He was already feeling sick the other day. We saw day before yesterday. He had that. He mentioned to Kirtananda that his heart was skipping. And of course, he had 2 heart attacks when he was coming on Jaladuta. So he knew his time was limited, and but there was a lot to be done. Just like when Rupa and Sanatan, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eventually will instruct them how to go and do the service in Vrindavan of excavating the holy places of Lord's pastimes and writing these books, right, so that all the future generations can benefit. So similarly here, Krishna himself is coming in these different forms. He's helping now Srila Prabhupada to quickly dictate his translations of Bhagavad Gita so that this boy can actually do the typing. So yeah, lot of things that we can learn from the lives of our acharyas, that when we have sincerity and of our surrender to the Lord, then the Lord reciprocates. And that is what he's trying to teach to his disciples as well. And we can see just in these small examples like Jadurani and how he was teaching them, what the mood of service is. When you're serving, he's saying how humble Srila Prabhupada is. He's saying, if you're serving, then you can also step on my head, right? So, because he knows that eventually, as long as we're all serving the Lord, then that is the topmost service. Yeah. Thank you for your thoughts. Anybody else would like to share anything from today's reading?
Yes, Prabhuji, I like the point which you told that he was so compassionate that he could stand and for the Lord you can do the service even on that. She knew that it was not correct, but how coolly and how kindly he told, no, that's okay, you can stand and do it. And then he was encouraging his devotees, all the disciples, you eat more, and you need energy so that you could preach more or do all the sincere work of the Lord. So that one also I liked. So nicely he used to cooperate, though he had so many problems of collecting money and staying in a place where he didn't know anyone, and he had lot of this problems of American citizenship or staying for a long time. In spite of that, he was not at all worried about anything, but he was encouraging all his disciples, how nicely he used to encourage them to chant, to eat, and to preach. And he used to listen also to the this one, the new things that were he wanted to. They wanted to tell about the typewriters, dictaphone, and everything. So how nicely he accepted everything, and how cooperative he was. That shows us so kind he was to his to everyone. Prabhupada.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes. Actually, that I think I was mentioning a few days or last couple of weeks ago when we were at the Sadhusanga, something similar. Radhanath Maharaj's story of Chapati temple, and how actually Gauranga Prabhu was there that day. He was mentioning the story, that how much struggle they had also gone through when Gauranga Prabhu mentioned he joined like in the early 90s for 7, 8, 10, almost 8, 9 years. He was just more focused on his scriptural study. But then at that time they didn't even have proper money for prasadam distribution. They couldn't even sustain cooking prasadam, right? But then again, Radhanath Maharaj's mercy, and when the timing is right, Lord just sometimes he takes these tests of his pure devotees, right? So again, that's a learning for us, future generations, of that. It will not be everything will not be rosy every day, or even for many years. What to speak of few days or few weeks, or but when we are sincere, then the Lord will reciprocate. And how this one person, now his name is Radha Giridhari Prabhu, he came and then he became a devotee, and then he was also kind of just a normal working professional in TCS, but then his life journey changed and he became a big businessman, and he created a big empire of firms. And then from his Radhanath Maharaj asked him to kind of quit that venture and do something else, but then almost like $70-80 million he got out of that venture, and then from that he contributed to the temple. So, and from there actually the Chapati temple is flourishing today, and the Govardhan Eco Village was also built out of that fund. But so it's like that. Krishna is just taking our tests, and when the time is right, the temples are always there. Like Prabhupada said, the time is just separating us, and in that time we have to be sincere and follow the instructions of the Guru Varga and continue our practice. Then Krishna will reciprocate. So here we are seeing the same thing from Prabhupada's life. Right? He went through all these struggles, but today, after 50 years, we see where the movement is. So, thank you, Mataji. Yeah. Anybody else would like to say anything? Anything, Shriya Mataji? Anything from you? Not heard any reflections from you? You're on mute if you're speaking. Shriya Mataji. Okay, maybe she's busy with something. So, all right, if nothing else, then maybe we'll wrap it up here today. Thank you so much. We'll conclude the darshan of our prayers. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavinda ki jai, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari
Hari
Hari.
Hari Bol. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Dandavad pranams. Have a blessed day, Prabhuji. Thank you for
Hare
all the devotees.
Hare Krishna.